Mr. Thompson's classroom is a museum of forgotten ambitions. Yellowed posters of the periodic table, printed when bismuth was still the heaviest known stable element, cling to the cinderblock walls. The air hangs thick and still, smelling of chalk dust, floor wax, and the slow, creeping decay of enthusiasm. This is his kingdom. A kingdom of 30 worn-out desks, a squealing blackboard, and the unchallenged authority of a man who believes knowledge is a finite resource, one he has already entirely acquired. He stands at the front, a man carved from granite and prejudice. His shoulders are broad, but they slump forward, as if the weight of all the potential he's ever dismissed is a physical burden. His lab coat, once white, is now the color of old bone, stained with chemicals from experiments he hasn't performed in a decade. He doesn't teach anymore. He presides. He holds court over teenagers who are either too scared or too bored to challenge him, doling out judgment in the form of red ink and condescending sighs. Today is the annual science fair presentation. For him, it is not a celebration of curiosity, but a trial of mediocrity. And the next defendant is Keisha Washington. She stands at the front of the room, a stark contrast to the room's faded palette. She is a flicker of quiet intensity in a sea of adolescent apathy. Her clothes are neat but worn, the jeans faded at the knees from hours spent kneeling on garage floors, the sweater a size too big. She is small for her age, a detail that men like Mr. Thompson mistake for fragility. They are wrong. In her hands, she clutches a worn notebook, its pages filled with calculations that flow like a secret language. Beside her, on a rickety metal cart, sits her project. It is not a volcano of baking soda and vinegar. It is not a potato clock or a display of rock strata. It is a beautiful, chaotic mess of wires, magnets, and scavenged parts. A coffee can forms the central chamber. Coils of copper wire, stripped from an old television set, are wound with meticulous precision around it. A discarded microwave transformer hums softly, powered by a car battery she'd lugged from her uncle's garage. The centerpiece is a small, sealed glass vacuum tube, inside which a faint, purple-blue light pulses with a steady, hypnotic rhythm. It looks like something born in a junkyard and dreamed up in a nebula. Mr. Thompson leans back in his chair, a throne of peeling vinyl and rusted steel. He crosses his arms, a gesture of preemptive dismissal. His lips curl into a smirk that doesn't reach his cold, tired eyes. "Well, Miss Washington," he booms, his voice a gravelly instrument of disdain. "What is this collection of junk you've brought before us?" A few students snicker. Keisha flinches, but her grip on the notebook tightens. She clears her throat, her voice soft but clear. "It's a working prototype for a magnetoplasmodynamic thruster." Silence. The words hang in the stale air, alien and complex. Thompson lets the silence stretch, savoring it. He wants her to feel the weight of her own audacity. He pushes himself up from his chair and lumbers toward the project, circling it like a predator. He pokes at a wire with a pen. What? Did you just string together a bunch of big words you found on the internet?" "No, sir," Keisha says, her voice gaining a sliver of strength. "It uses electromagnetic fields to ionize and accelerate a propellant. In this case, argon gas. It's a form of electric propulsion. It's far more efficient than chemical rockets." Thompson lets out a short, barking laugh. "Propulsion. This thing couldn't propel a housefly. It's a glorified light bulb you built from garbage." His eyes scan the class, ensuring they are all witnesses to this public dismantling. "Tell me, Miss Washington, did your mother help you find all these spare parts behind the diner she works at?" The cruelty of the remark lands with a sickening thud. It's designed to do more than insult her project, it's designed to remind her of her place. To tie her ambitions to the greasy floor of a working-class life he believes she can never escape. Keisha's face hardens. The flicker of hurt is instantly extinguished, replaced by something cold and solid. "My mother's work has nothing to do with this," she says, her voice dangerously level. "This is my work." "Oh, I'm sure it is," Thompson sneers. "And I'm sure it's just as full of hot air as your explanation." He dismisses her with a wave of his hand. "Thank you for the light show. That will be an F. Please remove your fire hazard from my classroom." An F. The letter echoes in the silent room. It is not just a grade. It is a judgment. A closing door. A future rewritten by one man's casual cruelty. Keisha stands frozen for a moment, the blood draining from her face. An F, she whispers, the word barely audible. But you didn't even let me explain the data. The math proves the principle works. Math. Thompson scoffs, turning back to his desk. You can write any fantasy you want with numbers. It doesn't mean it's real. The real world, Miss Washington, doesn't run on daydreams from the wrong side of the tracks. He sits down, picks up his red pen, and makes a final, damning mark in his grade book. Case closed. He has crushed a spark, and he feels nothing but the dull, familiar satisfaction of a man reinforcing his own small world. He doesn't see the look in Keisha's eyes. He doesn't see the quiet resolve solidifying into something unbreakable. He has just made the biggest mistake of his career. He just doesn't know it yet. The F hangs over Keisha's head like a storm cloud for the rest of the day. It's a slash of red ink that bleeds into everything. The numbers on the clock in calculus seem to mock her. The words in her English textbook feel hollow. Every tick of the clock is a reminder of the state scholarship, now a distant, fading dream. She tries to appeal to a higher authority. She finds Principal Evans in his office, a small, cluttered space that smells of burnt coffee and anxiety. He is a man adrift in a sea of paperwork, his posture a permanent question mark. He listens to her story, his brow furrowed with a practiced look of concern. Mr. Thompson has been teaching physics here for 25 years, he says, his voice soft and apologetic. He avoids her eyes, focusing instead on a stack of disciplinary reports on his desk. He has tenure, Keisha. His academic judgment is. Well, it's his. But he didn't judge it, she insists, her voice trembling with a frustration she struggles to contain. He didn't look at my research. He didn't check my math. He just called it junk and failed me. I understand your frustration, Principal Evans says, the words worn smooth from overuse. But Carl Thompson. He has a certain way of doing things. He believes in pushing students. He didn't push me, Keisha bites back, the words sharper than she intends. He tried to bury me. The principal sighs, a long, weary sound. He is a well-meaning man, but he is a man who avoids confrontation. Mr. Thompson is a fortress of belligerence and seniority, and Principal Evans has no desire to lay siege to it. Look, I'll have a word with him, he offers, a hollow promise they both know will lead nowhere. But I can't force him to change a grade. My hands are tied. The system, it seems, is designed to protect its own. It protects the tenured teacher over the brilliant student. It protects the status quo over the spark of revolution. Keisha leaves his office feeling smaller than when she went in. The ineffective ally has only reinforced her isolation. She returns to the science lab at the end of the day to collect her project. The room is empty now, silent except for the hum of the ancient fluorescent lights. Thompson is there, sitting at his desk, grading papers with vicious-looking slashes of his red pen. He looks up as she enters, his expression one of annoyance. Come for your contraption, he asks, not bothering to hide his contempt. Keisha doesn't answer. She walks over to the cart, her movements stiff. You know, Thompson says, leaning back in his chair again, enjoying this private moment of dominance. I'm doing you a favor. The world needs more people to flip burgers and change tires. It doesn't need another dreamer with a head full of useless equations. He's doubling down, twisting the knife he'd inserted earlier. With this F on your transcript, he continues, his voice dripping with condescending pity, you can forget about that state scholarship. You'll be lucky to get a spot at the local community college. Maybe they have a good auto mechanics program. He is laying out her future for her, a bleak, gray road he has personally paved. He believes he is performing a service, a harsh but necessary correction to her misguided ambition. Keisha begins to carefully unplug the battery from the transformer. Her hands are steady, her focus absolute. She refuses to give him the satisfaction of a reaction. Her silence infuriates him. He stands up and walks over to her, his large frame looming over her. Are you listening to me? He demands. Your little fantasy is over. To punctuate his statement, he reaches out and taps the delicate glass vacuum tube at the heart of her device. He taps it too hard. A faint crack appears, a tiny spiderweb on the surface of the glass. The purple-blue light inside flickers, sputters, and dies. A soft hissing sound, the last gasp of the vacuum, fills the silence. The heart of her project is broken. It wasn't an accident. It was a statement. A final, physical desecration of her work. Thompson smirks. Oops. Flimsy craftsmanship. That is the moment. The moral event horizon. Keisha slowly straightens up. She turns to face him, and for the first time, she looks him directly in the eye. Her expression is no longer one of hurt or frustration. It is a look of pure, chilling calm. The quiet girl is gone. In her place stands a scientist who has just witnessed a barbarian desecrate a temple. You shouldn't have done that, she says. Her voice is not a whisper anymore. It is a quiet, deliberate statement of fact. It holds no anger, no fear. Only a profound and unnerving certainty. Thompson is taken aback for a second. He expected tears. He expected a retreat. He did not expect this cold, unwavering focus. But his arrogance quickly reasserts itself. Or what, he scoffs. You'll fail my class. Oh, wait. He laughs, a harsh, ugly sound in the empty classroom. Keisha says nothing more. She carefully pushes the cart with her broken project out of the room, her movements precise and unhurried. She doesn't look back. Thompson watches her go, a feeling of smug victory washing over him. He has put the girl in her place. He has defended the ramparts of mediocrity against the assault of genius. He is the king of his decaying kingdom, and all is right with the world. He is a fool. He has mistaken her silence for surrender. It was not. It was the quiet before the storm. It was the calm before the reckoning. 2 days pass. For Mr. Thompson, they are 2 days of self-satisfied normalcy. He continues to drone on about Newton's laws, to mock incorrect answers, to wield his red pen like a weapon. He has already forgotten about Keisha Washington and her pile of junk. She is a footnote in his long, tedious career of snuffing out bright lights. For Keisha, they are 2 days of focused, methodical work. She doesn't cry. She doesn't complain. She documents. She sits at the public library computer, the one with the flickering screen and the sticky keyboard. She doesn't look at college applications. Instead, she uploads her entire project online. Not to social media, but to an obscure, high-level physics forum. A place where postdoctorate researchers and tenured professors debate the finer points of quantum mechanics and string theory. She uploads everything. Her notebooks, filled with pages of elegant, complex equations. Her schematics, drawn with a ruler and a steady hand. Her data logs, charting the power consumption and thrust output of her prototype before Thompson had shattered its core. She posts it all under a simple, anonymous username, K_Washington_74. She titles the post, Theoretical and Practical Application of a Low-Cost Magnetoplasmodynamic Thruster with Argon Propellant. Then, she closes the browser and goes home to help her mother prep for the dinner rush. She has launched her message in a bottle into the vast ocean of the internet. Now, she waits. The interruption comes on a Wednesday morning, during third period physics. Thompson is in the middle of a particularly boring lecture on thermodynamics. He's writing an equation on the board, his back to the class, when the door to the classroom swings open. It doesn't creak. It opens with a solid, authoritative push that breaks the stale silence of the room. Standing in the doorway are 3 people who do not belong here. 2 men and a woman, all dressed in sharp, dark business suits that cost more than Thompson's monthly mortgage payment. They carry themselves with an aura of purpose and quiet importance that makes the entire classroom feel shabby by comparison. Principal Evans hovers behind them, wringing his hands, his face pale and beaded with sweat. Thompson turns, annoyance flashing across his face. This is a closed class. Can I help you? The man in the lead, a tall, distinguished figure with graying temples and eyes that seem to see right through everything, steps forward. He completely ignores Thompson. His gaze sweeps the room, a brief, efficient scan, before it lands on Keisha. A slow smile of recognition and profound respect spreads across his face. Keisha Washington, he asks, his voice calm and resonant, filling the room with an authority Thompson has never possessed. Keisha looks up from her desk, her expression unreadable. She simply nods. Thompson, incensed at being ignored in his own domain, steps forward. I am this student's teacher, Mr. Thompson. Any inquiries should go through me. Who are you? The man finally turns his gaze on Thompson. It is not a look of anger or aggression. It is a look of pure, clinical assessment, the way a biologist might look at a mildly interesting specimen of mold. My name is Dr. Eris Thorne, he says, his tone flat and dismissive. I'm the director of the Advanced Propulsion Laboratory at NASA. NASA. The name drops into the room like a neutron star. Heavy. Dense. Warping the very fabric of the reality within those four walls. The students gasp. Principal Evans looks like he's about to faint. And the blood drains from Mr. Thompson's face. His ruddy, self-satisfied complexion turns to a pasty, sickly white. His jaw hangs slack. The power dynamic in the room doesn't just shift. It shatters. It inverts. It is annihilated in a single, stunning moment. Thompson's little kingdom has just been invaded by a foreign superpower, and his authority has been revealed for what it always was, a pathetic illusion. He stammers, trying to regain control, to insert himself into this new, terrifying reality. NASA. Well. I'm her mentor. I've been guiding her development. The lie is so blatant, so pathetic, that even his own students stare at him with disbelief. Dr. Thorne doesn't even bother to acknowledge the claim. He continues to look at Keisha. We're here to talk to you about your work, he says, his voice now warm and collegial. The work you posted 2 days ago. We've had our entire theoretical physics department looking at it nonstop. They're stunned. The woman beside him, a sharp-eyed analyst with a tablet in her hand, steps forward. Your equations on plasma confinement using a dynamic magnetic field. It's a solution to a problem we've been struggling with for 12 years. The second man speaks, his voice filled with an engineer's awe. And the way you repurposed a microwave transformer to manage the power flow. It's an incredible piece of frugal innovation. It's genius. Genius. They are using the word genius in Mr. Thompson's classroom. And they are not directing it at him. Thompson feels a cold dread creeping up his spine. The floor beneath his feet no longer feels solid. He tries again, his voice a desperate croak. Her science fair project. Yes, I encouraged her to think outside the box. I gave her a challenging grade to push her, to test her resolve. This gets Dr. Thorne's attention. He turns his head slowly, fixing Thompson with a stare that is suddenly as cold and hard as deep space. A challenging grade? Thorne asks, his voice dangerously soft. According to the student roster, you are Carl Thompson. Is that correct? Yes, that's me, Thompson says, puffing out his chest slightly, a pathetic attempt to reclaim some semblance of authority. Mr. Thompson, Thorne says, the title Mr. now sounding like an insult. Keisha didn't just post her theory. She posted a log of her entire process, including her interactions with her supervising instructor. He nods to the woman with the tablet. She taps the screen and reads in a clear, emotionless voice. Log entry, day 42. Presented prototype to Mr. Thompson. He called it a collection of junk. He did not review the data. He issued a failing grade. He made a derogatory comment about my mother's employment. She continues. Log entry, day 43. Met with Mr. Thompson to retrieve the project. He stated my future was in manual labor, not science. He then deliberately broke the primary vacuum chamber, rendering the prototype inoperable. Every word is a hammer blow, dismantling Thompson's lies, shattering his credibility in front of his students, his principal, and these powerful, terrifying visitors. The room is utterly silent, save for the woman's voice and the sound of Mr. Thompson's world collapsing. He begins to sweat, his cheap polyester shirt suddenly feeling like a straitjacket. That's a misinterpretation, he sputters. She's a child. She's emotional. I was using Socratic irony to motivate her. Dr. Thorne takes a slow step towards him. He is not an intimidating man physically, but the sheer force of his intellect and position makes him seem 10 feet tall. Mr. Thompson, he says, his voice now devoid of any warmth. Let me be perfectly clear. The collection of junk you failed is the most promising breakthrough in electromagnetic propulsion this century. The useless equations you dismissed have the potential to cut travel time to Mars by 40%. He pauses, letting the weight of his words sink in. You didn't motivate a student. You didn't challenge a prodigy. You took a work of staggering genius, and you tried to crush it because you were too arrogant and too ignorant to recognize what was right in front of you. Thorne turns to Principal Evans, who is trying to blend into the wallpaper. I'd like to see this project, he says. And I'd like to see this teacher's full academic file and his grading rubric for this assignment. Immediately. The command is not a request. It is an order. The deconstruction is systematic. It is brutal. It is a thing of terrible, beautiful precision. They reconvene in the school's library, a space suddenly transformed from a quiet haven of books into an impromptu tribunal. Keisha retrieves her broken project from a storage closet. She wheels it in, the cracked vacuum tube a silent testament to Thompson's petty vandalism. Dr. Thorne and his engineering expert examine the device with the reverence of archaeologists discovering a lost artifact. They murmur to each other in a language of technical specifications and physics principles that is completely beyond Thompson. Look at this wiring, the engineer says, pointing. The efficiency of the connections. There's almost zero energy loss. It's beautiful. And this cooling system, Thorne adds, tracing a line of repurposed copper tubing. Ingenious. She's using the principles of heat exchange with an elegance I haven't seen outside of our top labs. They are praising the very things Thompson mocked. They are celebrating the junk. Thompson stands to the side, flanked by a shell-shocked Principal Evans and the now-arrived superintendent of the school district, a woman whose face is a mask of controlled fury. Mr. Thompson, the superintendent says, her voice like chipping ice. Dr. Thorne asked for your grading rubric for this project. Where is it? It's a standard rubric, Thompson stammers, his hands trembling. He can't produce a document that doesn't exist. He never used one. His grading was based on whim, on prejudice, on the satisfaction of his own ego. I see, the superintendent says. And your notes? Your written feedback explaining the justification for the failing grade. My feedback was verbal, he lies, his voice thin and reedy. I find it's more effective for one-on-one mentorship. Dr. Thorne looks up from the project, his eyes burning with contempt. Your verbal feedback was to call her a dreamer from the wrong side of the tracks and tell her to go into auto mechanics. The statement hangs in the air, an indictment from which there is no escape. The superintendent's face tightens. Is this true, Carl? Thompson's composure finally shatters. The facade of the confident, experienced educator cracks and falls away, revealing the pathetic, insecure bully beneath. She was arrogant, he shrieks, his voice cracking. He points a shaking finger at Keisha, who watches him with the calm detachment of an observer. She came in here with this thing. Talking about plasma and magnetic fields. Who does she think she is? I have a master's degree. I've been teaching for 25 years. It's a full confession. He isn't admitting to a mistake in judgment. He's admitting that his actions were born of pure, unadulterated professional jealousy and classist prejudice. He was offended by her brilliance. He was threatened by it. His outburst is met with a stunned, horrified silence. He has just immolated himself, confessing his sins in a desperate, last-ditch attempt to justify them. Dr. Thorne shakes his head slowly, a look of profound pity and disgust on his face. 25 years, he says softly. And you've learned nothing. You're not a teacher. You're a gatekeeper. A dragon hoarding a treasure you don't even understand. He then turns his back on Thompson, a final, complete dismissal. He addresses Keisha, his voice now filled with warmth and excitement. Keisha, he says, the Department of Education has already been contacted. That F is going to be expunged from your record. In its place, the district will be awarding you the highest possible academic honors. He smiles. But that's just the beginning. We've also been in touch with the admissions directors at MIT and Caltech. They're not just offering you a place. They're fighting over you. Full scholarship, of course. All expenses paid. Including a research grant to continue your work. Keisha's eyes widen. For the first time, a flicker of emotion crosses her calm face. It's not just vindication. It's the sudden, overwhelming realization of a future she had thought was just destroyed, now bursting open with possibilities beyond her wildest dreams. But that's for next year, Thorne continues. For this summer, I have a different proposal. I want you to come to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory as a paid consultant on our new deep space mission. We need you, Keisha. Your mind, your ideas. We need your help to get us to Jupiter. The offer is staggering. A high school student offered a consulting position at NASA. It is unheard of. It is unprecedented. It is the ultimate validation of her genius and the final, crushing humiliation for the men who tried to extinguish it. Thompson makes a choked, gurgling sound. It is the sound of a man drowning on dry land, his lungs filling with the ashes of his ruined career. The climax is not a quiet affair. It is a public execution. The superintendent turns to Mr. Thompson, her voice now stripped of all civility. It is the voice of a judge passing sentence. Carl Thompson, she declares, her voice ringing through the library. As of this moment, you are suspended from all duties, pending a school board review for your immediate termination. You can't do this, he bellows, his face purple with rage and panic. I have tenure. Your tenure protects you from arbitrary dismissal, the superintendent retorts, her eyes like steel. This is not arbitrary. We have witnesses to your academic negligence, your unprofessional conduct, and your deliberate destruction of student property. We have a formal complaint from the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Your tenure is void. She gestures to a pair of school security officers who had been waiting quietly by the door. Please escort Mr. Thompson off school grounds. He is to collect his personal belongings and is not to set foot on district property again without express permission. The guards move in, their faces impassive. Thompson flails, his dignity completely gone. This is her fault, he screams, pointing at Keisha again. She went behind my back. She cheated. Dr. Thorne steps forward, placing himself protectively between Thompson and Keisha. The only person who cheated here, sir, was you, he says, his voice low and cutting. You cheated this student out of the guidance she deserved. You cheated this school out of the honor of nurturing a generational talent. And you cheated yourself out of the one chance you had to be part of something truly great. The guards take Thompson by the arms. He struggles for a moment, a pathetic, last gasp of defiance, before slumping in defeat. They lead him out of the library, past the glass walls where students have gathered, their faces pressed against the panes, watching the downfall of the tyrant. His kingdom has fallen. His throne is vacant. He is being frog-marched out of his own castle in utter disgrace. As he is being led past her, his eyes, wild and desperate, lock onto Keisha's. You think you're so smart, he hisses, his voice a venomous whisper. You're nothing. Keisha looks at him, not with hatred, not with pity, but with a simple, devastating clarity. She finally speaks, her voice calm and measured, easily carrying through the silent room. You only saw a girl from a poor neighborhood with a project made of junk, she says. They saw a scientist with a key to the stars. The only thing you ever managed to teach me, Mr. Thompson, is that prejudice is its own kind of gravity. And it just pulled you down. It is the final word. The perfect epitaph for his career. The doors of the library swing shut behind him, and Carl Thompson is gone. The fallout is not confined to the school district. It becomes a national story. Teacher fails student, NASA hires her, the headlines scream. The story is a perfect storm of injustice and vindication, a modern-day fairy tale with a rocket scientist for a princess and a bitter, tenured troll. For Carl Thompson, the consequences are swift, brutal, and absolute. The school board's termination is the least of his worries. He is officially stripped of his teaching license by the state, barred from ever teaching in a public school again. The school district, facing a massive lawsuit and a public relations nightmare, sues him for gross negligence and academic fraud to recoup damages. The court finds in their favor. His pension, the reward for 25 years of service, is seized to pay the judgment. He tries to find work in the private sector, but his name is now synonymous with prejudice and incompetence. No school will touch him. He ends up working as a stock clerk on the night shift at a 24-hour big box store, a place of fluorescent lights and endless, mind-numbing repetition. His kingdom of the classroom is replaced by a kingdom of cardboard boxes and inventory scanners. Former students sometimes see him there, his lab coat replaced by a blue vest, his authoritative boom silenced. They don't mock him. They just look through him, the ultimate punishment for a man who demanded so much attention. His arrogance cost him everything. He is a ghost haunting the aisles of his own failure. For Keisha, the rewards are as immense as Thompson's downfall is complete. She accepts the offer from Caltech, but defers for a year. Her summer consultancy at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory turns into a full-time, year-long residency. They can't let her go. Her insights are too valuable. Working alongside Dr. Thorne and his team, she helps refine her own thruster design. The prototype, lovingly rebuilt with state-of-the-art materials in NASA's own labs, exceeds all expectations in vacuum chamber tests. Her name is listed as a primary inventor on 3 major patents before she even attends her first university lecture. NASA's philanthropic arm, in a move of brilliant public relations and genuine goodwill, establishes the Washington Grant at her former high school. It's a multi-million-dollar fund dedicated to providing resources and scholarships for underprivileged students in the STEM fields. The old, decrepit science lab is gutted. In its place rises the Keisha Washington Center for Applied Sciences, a state-of-the-art facility with equipment Thompson wouldn't have even known how to turn on. Keisha's mother quits her job at the diner. Keisha buys her a house, a small, beautiful home with a garden, a world away from their old, cramped apartment. The first thing she does is build her mother a custom kitchen, a bright, airy space where she can cook for pleasure, not for a paycheck. The system that Thompson represented is also forced to change. The incident triggers a statewide investigation into the tenure system and teacher evaluation protocols. New rules are implemented, linking tenure protection to ongoing performance reviews and student feedback. Thompson's case becomes a cautionary tale, a textbook example of a broken system. Principal Evans, shamed by his own inaction, takes an early retirement. He is replaced by a dynamic young educator who makes it her mission to ensure that no student spark is ever dismissed again. The change is slow, but it is real. A crack has been made in the old foundation, and light is pouring in. 2 years later. The air at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, is different. It crackles with energy, with the hum of immense possibilities. It smells of ozone, clean room solvents, and ambition. It is a universe away from the stale, decaying atmosphere of Mr. Thompson's classroom. Keisha Washington stands in the center of mission control. She is no longer the nervous girl in the oversized sweater. She wears the dark blue polo shirt of a JPL mission lead, her ID badge clipped to her belt. She is 20 years old, the youngest mission lead in NASA history. She moves with a quiet confidence, her voice calm and clear as she gives instructions to engineers and scientists twice her age. They listen, not because they have to, but because they respect her. They have seen her mind at work. On the massive screen that dominates the front wall, a deep space probe glides silently through the blackness. It is the Magellan 2, and it is heading for Jupiter's moon, Europa. Propelling it is a new generation of ion drive. The Washington thruster. Her thruster. Dr. Thorne stands beside her, his face etched with pride. Fuel efficiency is holding at 99.7% of projected, he says, his voice filled with awe. We're going to get there 6 months ahead of schedule, Keisha. 6 months. Keisha allows herself a small, brilliant smile. The math was always good, heiress. A group of high school students, the first recipients of the Washington Grant, are touring the facility. They watch her from a glass-walled viewing gallery, their faces filled with a mixture of awe and inspiration. They are from neighborhoods like hers, from families like hers. They are dreamers who have been told the stars are not for them. And they are watching one of their own command a mission to another world. Keisha catches their eye and gives them a small, encouraging nod. In that moment, she is not just a scientist. She is a symbol. A promise. The moral of the story is written not in words, but in the silent, efficient burn of a plasma engine cutting through the void. Arrogance is a prison. It locks a person inside their own small, decaying world, blinding them to the universe of possibilities that lies just outside the door. Prejudice is an anchor. It is a dead weight that a person chooses to carry, and in the end, it will only drag them down into the depths, while those they tried to hold back soar into the heavens. True genius, the kind born of passion and perseverance, cannot be contained. It cannot be broken by a petty tyrant in a faded lab coat. You can try to bury it. You can try to dismiss it. You can try to shatter it into a million pieces. But it will always find a way to the light. And those who stand in its way will not cast a shadow. They will only be consumed by the fire.